In recent episodes, we've looked at how to create automated end-to-end workflows using Zapier. Today, we're taking a different angle on that, creating our own office assistant using Claude and Model Context Protocol. Model Context Protocol sounds scary, but it's actually been created to make your life easier. We're going to demonstrate that today, showing how you can control all of your office activities just using voice commands. I'm Bill Eastman, and this is the AI for Your Business channel. It's the channel busy people can come to quickly learn how they can leverage AI. Click on the subscribe button below to be sure not to miss any tips and tools. We'll start by showing you the assistant in action. Then we'll look at when to use Model Context Protocol versus setting up a Zapier workflow. I'll show you how MCP works in Claude and why we're using Claude instead of ChatGPT or Google Gemini. We'll look at Claude's desktop version versus its web version, and then wrap up by showing you how to set it up. Let's get started. We'll go through some use cases to give you an idea of the MCP Assistant's capabilities. Then you can run with it using your own office tools. Here's the first. Can you tell me the files in my Claude desktop directory? And you'll see that it's going to bring up a question asking if it can use the tool, and you'll say yes. And using another tool, so you'll do it again. But you can set that to just always allow, and then you won't have to do that depending upon your preferences. So here we go, it's brought back a file. So now let's ask the next question. Yes, can you pull out the key points in this file? And it's going to work going through the file, asking permission once again. And you can, once again, you can click allow always, so you won't have to stop in the middle. And here you see this document goes through prompting strategies and the like. Okay, so now we're going to send it off to someone. Here we're going to say, can you send an email to Bill Eastman with a synopsis of this document? And here we see it once again asking for permission. And it's looking for Bill Eastman in HubSpot. So going through their contacts in HubSpot, and let's see if it finds it. So now it's sent the email, and we will check the inbox here. And here we see it, an email sent by Claude with a synopsis of our document. So pretty cool. Let's try another example. What do I have remaining on my calendar today? And here you see, once again, it's asking for permission. Okay, great. Now we're going to cancel this. So let's ask it. Please send an email to Don Johnson telling him that I had something come up and can't meet at 1 o'clock. Ask if he's open between 2 and 4 p.m. Okay, and there it sent the email. And here we see the email in Don's inbox here. Let's go ahead and open it up, take a look. And we see a nicely written email form. So another example of how you can combine your calendar with email capabilities. And so we'll go on to the next example. Okay, one final example where we show how your assistant can gather and process info for you. I have a meeting with Don Johnson today. Can you put together the information we have on him, including the conversations we've had and any notes in HubSpot? Great. Please put together talking points for our conversation. Okay, and as you can see, that's very thorough. So you have a nice set of talking points to go into your conversation with. And these are just a few examples of what your assistant can do. And I hope they kickstart your thinking on what you can do in your own office. Pro tip: Claude can be sort of a scatterbrained assistant. It can forget to search contacts. It can forget its formatting settings. And it can overlook searching repositories. So, like with a forgetful assistant, you have to give it notes to check when doing a task. Each time Claude makes a mistake or an oversight, point it out to Claude. Tell Claude not to apologize, but to explain why it responded as it did. Then create a note for Claude based on that, like, when searching contacts, make sure to break the name into first and last name. Now, it might seem like a pain to have to include a lot of notes every time you ask Claude to do something, but fortunately, there's a solution for that. If you recall from earlier episodes, Claude allows you to create projects. These projects work like a folder, allowing you to collect all of your chats on a topic. And here's the key part. You can create instructions or load files for a project that any chat in that project can reference. So you first create a project to use anytime you have Claude do a task. Let's call it Office Assistant. Or you can create multiple Office Assistants if you want to break out the tasks that they do. Then from within the Office Assistant project, you can set project instructions. Here's where you enter the notes that you've compiled, and as you come across new errors, then you can append new notes. Conduct your chats from within the Office Assistant project, and Claude will reference these notes each time that you give it a task. And that'll help prevent those abnormal moments. So these examples were based on using Model Context Protocol as opposed to Zapier. So when do we use MCP versus Zapier? As you may have noticed in the examples, MCP may be used more for ad hoc requests rather than the structured workflows that you set up using Zapier. Your request acts as the trigger, and Claude determines the tool to use to carry it out. Google Drive, Trello, Asana, HubSpot, etc. There is also more of a human-in-the-loop aspect to it because Claude asks you to review its response before proceeding. Essentially, you may think of MCP with Claude as having a personal assistant who takes your request and keeps you updated on their progress. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't set up structured workflows using MCP. As the name suggests, Model Context Protocol just acts as a common protocol for language models to communicate with applications. So instead of having to know each application's documentation in order to connect to it, if an application conforms to the protocol, then any language model can connect to it just using a single interface. That's what's known as setting up an MCP server. So why Claude and not ChatGPT or Gemini? This will probably be a temporary condition. Anthropic, the maker of Claude, came out with Model Context Protocol last year. And at the time, it wasn't clear that MCP would succeed as a widely accepted protocol. So its competitors were a little slower to adopt it. Let's take a look at MCP connections that you can make from Claude. If you click on the sliders icon in the Claude text box, the connectors controls come up here. Here we see applications which we've already connected to: Web Search, Google Drive, Gmail, Calendar, Zapier, and Canva. If these are clicked in blue, you have access to them. At the bottom, you can see entries for adding and managing connections, Let's start with adding. Here we see the menu of applications that have currently set up MCP servers to work with Claude. Asana, Canva, Google Mail and Drive, Notion, Zapier, etc. You can add these tools to your connectors list by clicking on them and going through the authentication process. Note that you can disconnect these tools if you don't think that you'll be using them and you want to lower the chance of something going wrong. Just go into the Manage Connections or unclick them in the list. I'm going to focus on the Zapier connector for a moment. If you don't see the application you want in Claude's menu, you can always get to it through Zapier. Within Claude, Zapier can just trigger individual actions from an app rather than kicking off a full-fledged Zap workflow. But since Claude allows you to talk through a workflow, you'll still be able to perform multiple actions using Zapier. Now, to access these applications through Zapier, you'll first need to go to mcp.zapier.com and you'll set things up there. And of course, you'll first need to log in or register. You may be able to get by with the free plan since you won't be setting up Zapier workflows with multiple steps, but it is possible the $20 a month plan is required to use Zapier's MCP server. Once you've signed in, you should come to the MCP server setup page. Click New MCP Server, and a pop-up will ask you to enter a client. Select Claude. You'll also need to give it a name. I just call it Claude MCP Server. Then you'll start setting up the tools you want to use. As you can see, I've already set up a few. If you click on Add Tool, you come to a page listing some of the more popular applications, and at the top is a search bar for other applications. Let's try Trello. Once you're in, you'll see a list of all the actions Claude will be able to take with Trello. Depending on your preferences, you can add all of the Trello tools or just pick those tools that you would want Claude to have access to. Once you're done, you'll see your choices on the main screen. If we click on one, we can configure, test, or delete the action. Let's start with configure. In Google Calendar Create Detail Event, we see a number of parameters that can be configured. I generally let Claude select the values, but if you want to restrict a parameter to certain values, you can do so. Then we can test an action before we try it out in Claude. Just enter the instructions as you would to Claude. Note the parameter hints. I don't enter anything into these, but use them as reminders of what should be included in the instructions. If you're typing in the instructions, then it might add clarity to use bullet points for these parameters, but that's it. Here's the example. Add an event to my calendar for a meeting on August 5th from 2 to 3 p.m. at the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. And here we see the event on my calendar. In addition to Claude AI on the web, Claude also has a desktop version. The primary benefit of the Claude desktop version is that it can work with files on your laptop. So Claude Desktop looks just like the web version, but when you go into the connectors and choose Add Connectors, you now see a tab for desktop extensions. In there we see some activities that can only take place through your laptop, and the one I'll focus on is File System. Clicking on File System shows all of the directory and file actions you can take with it. You'll need to go into Configure because you'll need to let Claude know which directories it has permissions for. At first, you may want to set up a special directory for Claude. As you can see, I've created Claude Desktop. But once you're done, you can work with your files and directories just by talking to Claude. Now, setting this up is a lot easier than it was just a few months ago. As we saw in both Claude's web and desktop versions, we can get to these MCP connectors right in the prompt text box. And to download the desktop version, we go to claude.ai/download. You may have noticed the Claude interface doesn't have a microphone like ChatGPT or Claude. I imagine that will change in the near future, but for now you need to use voice-to-text software to speak with Claude. I'm using Aqua Voice, and I guess aquavoice.com was taken as a domain name because to get to it you need to go to withvoice.com. The 1,000 words allowed on the free plan just lets you try it out. So you'll need the $8 a month plan. There is a competitor called WhisperFlow, and they allow 2,000 words a week, and that might get you started. So just follow directions for downloading and setting one of them up, and you'll be able to talk to Claude. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you've seen that now it's pretty easy to set up an Office Assistant. But if you have any questions or would like more detail, please leave a comment. Next episode, we're going to look at agentic browsers. Microsoft Edge and Perplexity have recently come out with browsers that not only let you look up info, but actually carry out actions for you. It's almost certainly the future of web browsing. So please subscribe to not miss these and other ways to optimize your use of AI. And if you've gotten some value today, please leave a like. Until next time, good luck with your business.